Normally I don't like boring bomber playstyles, but the F-117 has a special place in my heart. It was the first military aircraft I was truly fascinated by, and to this day, I think there is something very special about it. In this video we'll discuss in detail how you very easily and systematically can get max rewards in the F-117 playing War Thunder simulator battles. So let's get right into it. SimEC has the useful action system with a 15-minute timer. I'll link a video in the end thumbnails that goes into detail on that system, but the TLDR is that your rewards max out at 1 kill or 1 base in a 15-minute slot. This works out to be around 600 mission points. For example, double that gives you only 5% or so extra net rewards. So there isn't a real max, but 600-ish is the effective max in my opinion. Here, look at some figures for the AV-8B. 2 kills and 1 kill respectively. It's about the same. Note here that the max 15 minutes was reached both times, and base reward RP is around 3,300 and 3,500. So even getting 2 kills doesn't change that much. You aren't going to reliably destroy a base every 15 minutes in the F-117, or let alone kill enemy aircraft. Now if you're lucky and the AI convoy gets jammed, you can get a few of them with 1 bomb, or if the MBTs stand close to each other in the ground battle, you might be able to do this once or twice in a long match. Emphasis on might, especially if other players grabbing those targets before you. Now let's walk through an entire sortie on how to easily get maximum rewards all the time in War Thunder simulator mode. I'll show you all the steps. So first ignite the engines by advancing the power lever a bit, then CCRP on, and then CCRP and next to cycle through the targets. You can use the built-in FLIR camera to see which target you have selected. I know which rough direction. There is a kind of isolated airfield on this map, so I'm picking that one. And here in third person mode you can still see where it is. You set CCIP to bombs auto, and then you get it on your HUD as well. Stability augmentation mode to dampening. We don't have any flaps, so we don't need to set those. And you go full power, and then we're on our way. You have to be careful your FLIR camera doesn't accidentally lock on the runway like I have now, and then just cycle through the targets again to the one you need, and then it's back to where it should be. Around 150, 160 you can rotate nicely with full load and gear up right after takeoff. Now you just climb out to the target. We have the TTG, the time to target, which is rapidly decreasing because our speed is increasing. In the end, it'll be about 5, 6, 7 minutes total. We also have the DME, those are nautical miles, and I think that's a little mistake from Gaijin because DME stands for distance measuring equipment, and they're usually radio navigation beacons used in IFR flight. But here it tells you the distance to your target, so whatever it is, you can use that to help out a little bit as well. Now I already alluded to it, and it doesn't always come directly to mind as a rewarding playstyle, but what we're doing is airfield bombing. Best to use 2,000 pound JDAMs for this and drop on an anti-air vehicle that is also close to multiple airfield modules. So 2 times 2,000 pound JDAMs will get you at least 2 anti-air kills plus base damage. It works out to be about 500 or 600 points depending on how many modules it hits. But in my experience it's at least 500, which is close enough to the 600 max. By the time you land and take off again, they'll have respawned and you can repeat this because your 15-minute useful action timer will also have reset. It's very steady, especially with the stability augmentation, and you can just do other things while playing, like watch YouTube or study a bit or just look around the cockpit and enjoy yourself. Now if you switch to the FLIR camera, that's also your targeting system, too early, it won't be able to make the angle and you'll actually lose your lock. So you can easily get it back by cycling through the CCRP next several times, but I usually just wait until I'm quite close, and then I can go from the CCRP targeting point to the exact points where I want to drop my JDAMs. The TTG timer tells you exactly when to drop the bomb if it's a dumb bomb, but your JDAMs will be able to correct it. So about 30 seconds before or so, I usually find a target and drop them. That's 30 seconds. Opening the bomb bay. There's the airfield. Those are the AA vehicles. All those buildings are part of different modules. Drop 1. Drop 2. Closing bomb bay. And now let's watch the fireworks. Someone taking off. Too bad we didn't target him. Got to see 535 mission points. Just make sure high enough, at least 15,000 feet above the airfield. Otherwise, this happens. Okay, let's pretend that didn't happen. Now there's two ways to go back. One, just look at the map and kind of point your nose in the right direction, which is about here, slightly left of that river. And another one is put your bomb marker on it. And then you'll just get the distance and everything on your HUD. So here about 7 miles out. If you look at the DME, I cut power. You can lower the gear at 300 knots and you don't have a speed brake or flaps. So the only way to lose your energy is either by closing power really far out or to do some maneuvering turns to lose speed. Because every time you pull the nose, it bleeds a lot. In real life, a pilot would plan their approach really well, but this is War Thunder and we want to get on the ground as soon as we can so we can get up again. At 300 knots, you can lower the gear.
Danger is close.
Flare a bit and a smooth touchdown. Also keep some back pressure on the stick when you're on the ground. Make sure you don't take off again. But the back pressure makes you slow down even faster. Increased induced drag over the wings and more pressure on the main gear makes it slow down a lot better. There you go, landing. Ready for another sortie. Now when I come in too hot, I just yank the stick like this. I don't think this is how real Nighthawk pilots land, but this is how I land. And if you have any more questions on how to do this, let me know in the comments. I do my best to reply each and every one of them. If you need other help getting started with simulator battles, also let me know. I'll gladly point you in the right direction. So looking at the rewards from this match, we see in the first useful action slot, I got shot down at about 10 minutes and all the other ones, they were the full 15 minutes and didn't get shut down. It was just that I was flying too low on that occasion. So if you get your altitude right, in most cases, you'll just survive the whole thing. And they're all 500, 600, except for one that's a bit lower. Not sure what happened there, but the reward's still pretty good. You can see that the base RP is 2,500. And then above that one is the, you may have seen it in the compilation, is almost 800 points because I bombed 2 aircraft on the runway. And that's 3,000. So you can see that the 539 and the 781, they're only like 200 points different. So it's pretty much max rewards for every sortie. And also 6 landings, that's another 10,000. So that's about 20% of the total. It's just that first flight where I got shot down and I didn't land. And the total time played is 2 hours. So total RP I got was 82,000 and Silver Lions were 300,000 with 2 respawns. Now this is a premium account and I had a booster in the beginning, as you can see. But if you have a free account, no boosters, this is still around like 35,000 or so for 2 hours. I don't know if that's a lot for you or how much you usually do in sim, but I think that's pretty good because this is, well, it's basically the max you can get actually. Now, for anyone that has followed my channel for a while knows that I repeatedly rip on Zombers. What bothers me about them is their nosedive into the ground playstyle. They deny people kills by using some ridiculous meta unintended by the devs and not in line with realism. Flying back and forth to a bombing target undetected with an F-117, however, is exactly what the F-117A is made for. Your skill of picking the mission target, your route, perhaps hiding in the clouds on the way there, is what denies enemy kills. Skill versus borderline exploit. After all, the only Nighthawk shootdown in real life was essentially a skill issue. Poor security measures which granted the enemy intel and the operational mistake of flying the same routes meant they knew when and where to look. Not really the pilot's fault, but more the planners on the ground. RTBing, as opposed to what Zombers do, is also more rewarding, since if you don't get shot down, you'll get the 20% landing reward. You also have enough time before the useful action timer resets, so you'll need to fill the void anyways. Now, if you want to improve your results, picking a small map is probably the best prep you can do for making your flight time shorter. Being at BR 8.7 also puts the airfields a bit closer to each other than top tier, I think. Picking an emptiest server can also help. Of course, spading the aircraft as you play makes the aircraft climb a bit better, fly a bit faster, etc. Which will also mean you can do faster runs and perhaps avoid the odd enemy intercepting you. Of course you can time your sorties, but you'll do enough MP for max rewards anyways. And if you do go over, you do get a little bit more, and in my opinion it's just nicer to fly back and forth and enjoy the bomb runs rather than beating some invisible timer. Just forget about it and keep cruising. Now this playstyle won't really get you max mission points for events, but it will get you max RP and SL for sim battles at this BR, which is around 80% of the top tier rewards. On the one hand, it's quite a boring playstyle, I must admit, but on the other hand, my love for the F-117 and the occasional need for just relaxing back and forth flight with some peaceful meditation music, followed by a deadly JDAM deep strike on an enemy airfield, makes this thing a nice switch up from the intense top tier high octane engagements. The fact you can do this while still getting max rewards makes this a great option for any like-minded players or simply people looking to grind. Since I've gone several hours sometimes without getting shot down, it also means you save a lot on repair cost. If this makes you want to get the F-117, it's a squadron vehicle, so it can't research lower ranks, but you can buy it right off the bat or research it right away if you're in a squadron. You don't even need to have the American tech tree ground out. I don't really know the GE cost, but probably ends up to about $30 if you buy it. If you research it for free like I did, it's 400,000 squadron RP. This works out to about 20 times 20,000 squadron RP drops in a busy squadron. In my experience, it can be done with an hour of gameplay every 3 days for 2 months or so. It's not that bad in my opinion. Even if you don't use top tier vehicles or play with a free account, an hour of gameplay a day probably gets you enough if your squadron is active enough to unlock this thing for free in 2 months. Let me know what you guys think about this technique. Too boring for you? Or is it maybe exactly what you've been looking for? Let me know. And as always, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed and catch you in the next one.